You would not believe the Nvidia technicals that I have for you in this video. They are absolutely worth checking out. I'll also cap what we got for SPY, QQQ, and IWM. And I'll tell you what an exciting day in the markets. It truly was. I'm going to start with SPY. We'll get to Nvidia's after we get through the indices here, or the ETFs that track them. So first, the S&P 500 tracked through SPY. Price targets that I have on here for you. Let's check and see what we've done over the past several days just to see how the technicals are playing out so far. Well, so I said to watch for support from 550 to 551. That was back, it was actually Friday, and we came down to 551.26. So I said watch for that support. And guess what? We got it. Technicals, I haven't changed them. Really, really solid. The only one I changed is price target one was 553. I changed it to 556 because we hit 553, so I changed the price target. Moved it on up onto the next one. And then what did we get on Friday? We got 555. We were short $1. Today we made up for it, moving up to 559.61. And that's actually where we closed at. So that's pretty darn cool to see that hit. Price target 2, you'll notice up here is at 565. I think that we're probably going to hit pretty solid resistance if we're able to make it up to about 562. Be on the lookout for that. There's all sorts of resistance that's up here. And remember what I have for what we could have 4 years and 582, just to keep an eyeball on that and to set a time frame. I do still think that there's some time where we're going to have some retracing happening between now and the election. We're probably either going to have some sort of drama that happens in there, some sort of big uncertainty when the markets are up like this, especially after this big of a run. It's bound to happen. It's not going to take much to take people. Just think about it. Anytime that you've been having an absolutely wonderful day, an awesome time, and then all of a sudden you're just hit with something negative that's like shocking that you didn't expect to have happen, and how emotionally impactful that is for that to happen. That's the sort of thing that rattles those markets. And then we can only go so far towards the ceiling and pushing up through so many ceilings before we have to go back and start looking for support. So it's not about being a bear, it's about finding where the ceiling's at. So far, we haven't shown that we found it, but we do need to find out where that ceiling is at. And then we got to find out where the floor is at. So some natural retracing is most definitely something that can happen. And I want to keep reiterating this gap that's actually in here. I want to stretch this out so you guys can see it. Look right here. This goes all the way. Let me see. The peak that we had was 545, and that all the way up to about 549. So we have about a $4 gap in there that we actually have to fill at some point in time. Well, we'll see where the peak is. We don't exactly know. I'll tell you, like, it's not on here that you can see it. There's actually a little tiny red line right in there, right at about that 562 level. That's really something that you want to watch out for. And then another one is actually just north of here, just above that price target at about 566. So just be on the lookout for those. Expect that we could possibly, if we do make it up to those ceilings, retrace when we do hit them. Ideally, we're able to make it between them and ping pong around a little bit. That does sort of align with what we have at the all-time highs over here. So just be on the lookout for that, because that's something that could happen to us. We're still in really good bullish territory, but like I said, retracement probably coming for us sooner than later over the next day or several days. So be on the lookout for it. Moving over to the Qs, and let me go from the weekly chart down to the daily chart. We'll see how we did with the price targets. Price target, I said we could possibly have some resistance around 480. Today's high, 481.31. So if you were watching my previous videos, you'll know I said that we'll probably find some sort of ceiling somewhere in there. And we did. That doesn't change my mind for that price target to around 487. And I think probably between now and the election, we could potentially hit that $500 price target on here. And I think we're probably going to hit significant resistance there. And I also have a white line on here for you as well, that maybe we even come back and retest that all-time high prior to the election. That was something harder to say when we were down here farther. Now that we're getting closer, we're still looking for that, where that ceiling is. We're probably going to retest support, like I said, for SPY at some point in time. QQQ, which tracks the Nasdaq 100, probably also has that floor coming in at least sometime. But remember, in these bullish trends that we have, that usually the pull downs are really, really rapid. Like this was probably the biggest extended sell-off that we've had, and look at the return that we've gotten off of it. So awesome for us. Remember, this is tech heavy, going to be highly influenced from what we see from Nvidia. I'm going to cover that in just a moment. So we also have a small gap to fill in here right around 466. It goes from about 465 up to about 471. So between now and the election, we're probably going to have some retracement. We're going to probably come back and retest some of these supports. And depending on where we happen to find that, it could be very, very critical for that turnaround and have a strong end of the year. We're going to have to see how that happens for us. I don't think that we're at peak euphoria yet. I think right now we're just having a great time at the party. We're probably going to have some dips and some lulls, but when we hit that peak euphoria is probably where we're going to really start seeing that next big drawdown. I still think it happens between now and the election, and I think that we could, depending on what happens, see that strong rally through the end of the year, that next big round of euphoria. There's a lot of forecasts out there for some economic weakness to start peeking out its head, whatever, and showing up in the markets in Q1, Q2 of next year. So just be on the lookout for that is out there. It's probably going to put some worry out there and all that kind of stuff. And we're just going to have to keep on checking out the technicals and see what they're suggesting, especially over longer time frames. So let me put this back up here for you. We'll do IWM and then we'll get quickly into NVIDIA from there. Look at these technicals, guys. Look at this, where I had that drawn in for you right at about 215. We got stopped right at 215. I think that we're going to break this and check out 217. So be on the lookout. This is a pretty critical resistance for us. Maybe tomorrow we're in here, but if we do get up above that, we have green lights to 217. That's a critical 618 level. And then we kind of get ping-ponged around there. Potentially the biggest one that we have is actually just north of that at 218. So be on the lookout. It's still between now and the election. We could possibly see that 220 coming out for that one. End of year, if we're really good with the small caps, if the soft landing, and this is actually really important for the Russell 2000 stocks, right now, one of the things that's allowing us to rally the way that we are is that the soft landing scenario is something that we're seeing evidence of, and we're seeing less evidence right now that 4.3% unemployment rate is actually something that we can really settle on and rely on in terms of indicator for recession. So this is still sort of like, hey, we're not doing so bad. We're kind of shifting back towards that 25 basis point hike or cut. As I said, hike for so long. And now we're starting to lean more toward 25 basis point cut rather than a 50 basis point cut. So the Fed's not panicking so much. Now it's looking more like they're just going to ease into this, and the market's like that ease rather than a quick 50 basis point cut, especially consecutive 50 basis point cuts. So the better that gets, the more that it confirms the soft landing scenario, the better it's going to be for the market, and especially the Russell 2000 stocks that you see here. So if we're still under the pretense of a soft landing scenario, if that's what the market is assuming as we watch these price targets play out, which we hit price target 1, that was awesome. We're marching on to price target 2. We hit the top of the resistance that you see on here, which, mind you, pay attention in here. I don't mean to have the messy charts, but I want you to see what I'm looking at and share that with you. So we need to watch this rejection. It would have been nice to get more cleanly on top of it. We did close above it, and that's good. So if we stay above it, great. Up to 217 we go. Maybe by tomorrow, maybe this week, we'll see. If instead we get rejected and end up coming back here and testing the trend line support that we have here for the bull channel that we're in, that can be something that, watch for that bounce. It's probably going to be significant. We are coming up, like I said, on that 618 level, just shy of 217. So we might actually come up to just shy of 217. That's rounded up from the 0.63 that's on your screen. So from 216.63, so falling just shy. We'll see. We'll see what comes for us. We could possibly peekaboo up above it as well. If we do get rejected there and retest support, maybe that's our next leg up that we have going. And like I said, end of year, this red line that we have up here is like super critical at like 225. If we have that soft landing scenario still playing out following the election, 225, I think, could most definitely be in the cards. If things go really, really well for us post-election and that we see soft landing scenario persist and just everything's all rosy and sunshine, then that enables a really, really cool thing, which is new all-time highs, which happens to be, I think 230 is going to be really critical for us. Actually, that's not new all-time high. That's just most recent high. 230 is going to be critical resistance. 232 critical resistance. This top trend line is actually the top big fat red one that you see here. That's my now 14-month-old daughter. I mentioned her in my earlier video. Very excitable and very shrill. You should hear when she makes that noise in the bathtub, and it echoes and feels like it's going to shatter my eardrums. But this top red line that you see up here, this is like mega ultimate, holy cow, maybe I need to take profits on my Russell 2000 plays that are out there. This one we also seem to sell off right around here as well. So watch for that rejection, breaking up above it. Can be a bullish thing in the short term. It depends on what sort of things we're under. I do want to get away from that into NVIDIA for right now, though. So be on the lookout for breaking 215, heading up to 217 on the Russell 2000 stocks. So IWM is that ticker. NVIDIA from this morning, And I've had this out since last week. Price target 2, $130 per share. What did we peak out at today? I'm not even kidding. So I put my video out. I said price target 125, our high price 125. Also in that same video last week, I said 130. Today's high price 130. Price target 2, check. What do we get tomorrow? Are we going to bounce around? Who knows? Are we going to hit this trend line here and find support and bounce back up? Hopefully. Will that send up to price target 3, 133? Gosh, I sure hope so. I said I was bullish on this. We have a lot of bullish signals on here, and we'll see what happens leading up to those earnings that we have on the 28th, which is Wednesday of next week in the after hours. And I think that we're probably going to land somewhere between 125 and 133. So be on the lookout. Wherever we do end up landing, it's going to be just a very special and peculiar spot because it's going to give us that coin flip scenario that earnings tend to do. So for Nvidia, just absolutely incredible the way that these technicals are playing out so far. That 130, remember I round to the nearest dollar, the 618 line that we have on this looks like it's at 130.46. And that price target I put out 130, we nailed it, spot on. So 2 claps for that one, and we'll see if 133 plays out from that. So we are in an area of resistance. The 618 is kind of a critical level for us. And so if we retrace in the after hours here, it looks like we're retracing a little bit. If we come back down and test this trend line that we have, that is very typical. That can happen. We've had a pretty incredible run. The last time that we had a red candle day, we were down at 118. Now we're $12 richer than that. So about a 10% climb in the 3 days that followed, 3 trading days. So incredible for Nvidia. Super happy as a long-term investor to see it move that way. And let's hope that it continues. And we got a lot of signs that it is continuing. Let's talk about some of those signs. Let me hide some of this mess so that you guys can see. Bring those back up. I'm going to hide the drawings. There we go. So we can see the indicators. We are not at the top Bollinger Band. This is 3 standard deviations. And let's shrink it down to just see what happens. I haven't done this since I started this video. I haven't done this at all today. As a matter of fact, that's a different story. I'll tell it towards the end because I don't want to waste your time with it now. Super frustrating in terms of technology today. There we go. 2 standard deviations. Look at that. We are just above the 2nd standard deviation. So when I said a little bit of retracement in that resistance area, it's possible that we do. We're above the 50-day SMA that's on here, the 50 EMA. We're above the 5-day, so floating way up above that, up above the 13, up above the 20-day. These are all great signs. We could tend back a little bit this way, back down a little bit, retrace a little bit, and kind of find out where the floor is after all that search for the ceiling. 130 could potentially be about the ceiling that we're going to find, but I still think that we have the momentum that we could punch up through it if the floor isn't too far off from where we're at right now. So just taking a look at what we have for momentum. It's been excellent momentum. In terms of volume, it's not as exciting as it was back here when we sold down to the bottom most recently through a major sell-off time, if you will, to see that happen. And where'd that take us down to? It took us down below $100 per share. I said that was going to be a pretty incredible time. So we actually bottomed out on this thing around 92. I said anything down in the 2 figures is going to be a huge load zone. That's exactly what happened. We loaded up. Now we're back up. We hit at 130. So a $38 turnaround from where we were at. That's like a 40% jump, just so that you guys are aware of the magnitude of that climb. Mind you, if you guys want to learn to do technical analysis like this, there's a link down in the description for that. Click it, sign up, and when you do, make sure that you use the code word doctor. It's going to save you a ton of cash signing up for that, and you can take your trading game to the next level. There's what Stockmo refers to as the bread recipe in there. I got a chapter in options on there, and I stand by everything that's in that course. It's solid, easily digestible pieces, and it can really help you to make sense of these charts and tell you exactly what to look for. So I highly recommend that. Also, down in the description, you'll find a link for the Patreon as well. That's my stock group. You can sign up for that. Meet me over in the Discord, see my buys and sells, talk to me and my community members. We'd absolutely love to have you over there. So my take on Nvidia, where exactly does it go from here? We could potentially sell down a little bit, and that would be pretty natural from where we're at right now. I still think that we can hit 133 prior to earnings, and we'll see if we do hit that. Is that going to be a ceiling? Is the ceiling nearby? I think 136 is actually a pretty nearby ceiling that's still north of 133. So we still might climb onto that price target, which is still pretty significantly up from where we're at right now. I still think that there's a lot to be excited about. I am going to put out the earnings, that Nvidia stock price prediction and Nvidia earnings forecast out for you as well. I'm going to do that this week. It's on one of the top priorities that I have is to get that out for you ahead of time. And I'll give my take on just how bullish I am about the Nvidia earnings and where I think the stock price could go as a result of those earnings. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Remember those links down in the description if you'd like to support this channel, be part of my stock group, see my buys and sells, or learn about technical analysis trading. That link is also down there as well. Thank you very much for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video. All right, so I'm purposely putting this at the end of my video because I didn't want to take up time if people didn't want to hear it for all the technical analysis stuff. But I'll tell you what, I get to work today, and I highly rely on my cellular data to work in order to get me through the trading day and be able to contact my stock group. And even though I had reception, I could get absolutely no cellular data function for me in any way. That meant no stock market, that meant no technical analysis, that meant no talking with the stock group, and that was very troublesome for me. So I checked the towers, and it said that there was no issues or outages with the towers, but yeah, I checked with other people, and they were also, even if they had a different carrier, were still having trouble with that tower. So yeah, not a nice day, not a nice kickoff to the school year, but I don't anticipate that this is going to be something that persists for too long, and I'm going to be aggressive at addressing it so that we don't get further interruptions. I'm glad that for once that there was a technology issue, that the market was actually a nice day. That was actually a very nice surprise to see that Nvidia hit our second price target. So yeah, that's just a small story that's out there, and I hope that it doesn't happen again. Technical issues, especially where money's involved, they're never fun. And also when other people are relying on that information that you put out, that's not fun either. So thank you guys again very much for watching. And you know what? I'll see you in the next video.